Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Flood, and you're listening to the Flood Watch on WLOY Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOY.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. Hope you all are doing great this Friday. For those of you who have never listened to the Flood Watch before, the concept of the show, there's actually two concepts for the show. The first one will be a album of the week that I have selected that I find significant. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. All right, sorry about that. But like I was saying, the concept of the show is that I will be playing one album of the week, which is a collection. No, that's the other thing. It's an album I've selected that I find culturally significant to music, modern music, or I just like it a lot, or I just find it very interesting. And I think it's something that someone out there might resonate with, and maybe they'll want to put it on a playlist or listen to it again. That's really the goal of the album of the week. And alongside that, I'll have a collection of songs that I've picked that I listened to in the past couple of weeks that I really liked or found really interesting and wanted to share with you guys. So for the past couple of weeks, I've been doing 2021 albums to kind of close out the year. It's been fun so far. Our album last week was very fun, poppy, and it was just like a bunch of really good songs. That was Japanese Breakfasts. I can't remember the name of the album right now. Let me look. Paprika. No, I think that's a song. It's called Paprika. Jubilee, that's what it's called. And it was a really fun listen. Very easygoing. This week, we're going to do something that's the complete opposite. I would guarantee you this album that we have for this week, I don't think you'll be putting any of the songs on a playlist, listen to them at the gym or something like that. But I do think this album is a very interesting experience. So the album of the week is called By the Time I Get to Phoenix by the band Injury Reserve. They're a hip-hop group. Now, I will say, I'll give a little bit of details on the band. They're kind of an experimental hip-hop group from Memphis. I think they're from Memphis. They've been kind of big in the underground for the past couple of years. They came out around like 2013, and they've had a couple projects since then that have kind of integrated like experimental noise music, and trap, as well as some other hip hop genres. And they're predominantly made up of three members. I just forgot their names. I'm going to look it up right now. Let's see. So the three members are MC Richie with a T, MC Steppa J Groggs, and Parker Corey, who is behind making the instrumentals and the beats. I've been a big fan of these guys for a while. Their last album, which was their self-titled album, came out in 2019 or 18. And it was kind of like mixed for most fans, but I thought it was really good. It was one of my favorites of the year. And I will say it was probably their most contemporary and pop-like album. There was a lot of really great hits if you're a fan of experimental hip-hop. It was catchy, a lot of great features. And you know what? It was their first debut album. The others were considered mixtapes for whatever reason, but it kind of was supposed to signal. It was a self-titled album. It was supposed to signal like this is the start of our next era. Unfortunately, that did not happen because Steppa J Groggs actually passed away a year ago or so, maybe a little longer than a year ago, and it was extremely shocking and horrible. I mean, he's a father of like 2 or 3, I'm pretty sure, and it was kind of like no one really knew how he died. I don't think they released it publicly, but it was tragic because you could see a group that was kind of on the cusp of getting more popular, or as far as in the underground hip hop scene, they were on the rise, and that all of that kind of came crashing down after this. Not to mention just like the loss to his family and stuff like that. It's tragic. Now, I was expecting nothing from Injury Reserve ever again, honestly. but they were working on this record when Groggs died, and I will say it is an extremely interesting listen. It's not happy. I'll tell you that. It is a very sad album, but there's a lot to get out of it, I will say. It's been one of the most interesting album experiences I've had this year. I've actually only listened to it once up to this point, but I will say it was a very powerful album when I listened to it when it came out. And I'm excited to listen to it today. I hope that little preamble kind of gave you guys a gauge on what you should expect from this album. It all flows well. I would definitely recommend looking at the lyrics if your hands are free right now to look at them. And yeah, I'm really excited to get that started. Before we get that started, though, we're going to go back to my collection of songs that I prepared for the show today. This is a song from a group that has been kind of up and coming in indie rock. I've played a song by them before. The band is Black Country New Road. This is their newest song. It came out a couple weeks ago, and they're planning on doing a new record at the beginning of next year, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, so let's get to it. This track is called Bread Song. Hope you guys enjoy.
Okay, well, I just woke up and you already don't care that I tried my best to hold you through the headset that you wear, and as tight as I might hold it over where the signal's good. There's no way to save your evening now through the little phone that could. And yes, I was tempted, and I christened me lonely. I pretended to falter, and I burned scented candles there, and I hung some good pictures where the paintwork was perfect, so no one could doubt it. Oh, I was still losing. suffering. And you played a good organ, and the world gathered singing. Good words that you'd stolen, and every phone died then. And no one had Wi-Fi inside your apartment, so we knelt at your altar. Okay, well I just woke up, and you already don't care that I tried my best to hold you through the headset that you wear, and as tight as I might hold over where the signal's good. There's no way to save your evening now, and I'm ready for us to be understood. So show me the land you acquired, and slip into something beside the holes you tried to hide.
Once again, that last track was called Bread Song from the band Black Country New Road. I really like that track. Yeah. So their album that came out earlier this year in January of 2021 for the first time is really great. I would definitely recommend it if you thought that song was interesting. And definitely keep an eye out for their new album that should be coming out soon, because I think they're a really interesting group. Lots of interesting ideas. They're doing something really unique. I'm excited to see where they go next. All right, so now let's get to the album of the week, which I said so much about and then did not play a song from. But we're going to get started with that right now. This first track is called Outside. Hope you guys enjoy.
Talk to him. I've been talking to him kindly. Walk with it, yeah. It's me. Talk to him. Walk with it, yeah. Don't let these things back. Oh, yeah. I've been talking to him kindly. Walk with it, probably. I came in a little too sharp, but you ain't like that. You ain't like when I'm coming all wildly, yeah. Let me tell you something. I've been talking to them kindly, cause they wanna toot each other's horns, pat each other's backs for anything in common, even slightly. Or you wanna meet in the middle, huh? You wanna see what we have in common? Yeah. Take a seat, sit right across from me. Don't sit behind them. So you you could just stalk him proudly. Let's cut all that bullshit. What's the elephant in the room? Let's talk to him. Come on, let's talk to him, don't hide him. Yeah, but I walking in circles. You thought it was gonna be a walk in the park with a probably, but now you walk in the park. But I would've, with all that shoulda, coulda, woulda, I'm in your neck of the woods with the dogs ready to bark on them. Tryna big dog me? You can't little bro me? Like I'm 34 miles from Raleigh. The all slash got the white boys talking on Wiley. They about to get the caulking on them with all that white noise you talking. You out the wall with the caulking, Macaulay Culkin. You better step a caution around him. Get out the yellow tape and get ready to talking it out loud. Cause they pass about to start stalking on Wiley. Tiptoe, about to stalk on Wiley. Get the talking to him, Wiley. As we roll through this valley of death. Listen, please, listen. Don't wanna have too many conversations. You wanna have too many conversations, but let's put everything on the table. Let's put everything. We ain't gonna bounce around it. We ain't gonna bounce around shit. And my skeletons shoot out yours. But let's be honest here, this don't end with agree to disagree. That ain't possible. It's just some things. It's just some things that ain't right. We gotta be honest with ourselves. Gotta know, I know, I know. And if you don't, then there's something wrong up here in your noggin. We cannot end this with an agree to disagree. There is no happy medium. That is nothing. That is nothing.
Once again, that last track was called Outside from Injury Reserve from our album of the week. By the time I get to Phoenix, I did just want to correct myself. They are from Arizona, but not from Phoenix. At least that's what Google tells me. But the title of the album is actually a reference to an Isaac Hayes song from the 70s. At least I think it is, because I saw that it's the same title. But yeah, that was a very interesting opener. If I didn't say it already. It's called Outside. Now, I wanted to kind of clarify something, that this is still weird even for Injury Reserve. If you haven't heard anything by them before, you might just be like, okay, this is very abstract, very a lot of noise music and ambient sounds going on here. But I will say, this is weird even for Injury Reserve. Their music had a much stronger pop appeal before this album. They're experimental. They experimented with harsh noise and definitely were left leaning on the experimental side of hip hop. But this, you could argue, I mean, where even is the hip hop in this, right? It's there's rapping. Richie with the T is rapping on this song, but the instrumental feels very far removed from hip hop, which I understand if you thought that, because I kind of agree. But I think that's something that's really interesting. It's a good opener for what's going to come, I would say. Lyrically and vocal wise, Richie with a T is rambling a lot on this track. He's angry, and also slightly like schizophrenic, it sounds, right? Like he's talking nonsense for the most part. It sounds like he's kind of like lost in his thoughts. And I would say his flow also resembles that, kind of lost behind like the static of this song. I would say if you haven't seen the cover for this album, it really like captures what this album feels like. If you ask me, I would recommend looking at it right now. But yeah, it's an interesting opener. I don't really know what to say about the lyrics, about anything specific, but that's the vibe I got from it from the beginning of this song, or from the beginning of this album. Hope you guys have been enjoying it so far. I know we only played the first track, but I think it's an interesting album. So we're going to go back to my playlist. This next song is a long one. I'll warn you, it's a long one, but it is worth it. This is one of my favorite, this is definitely one of my favorite songs from the 2010s, even though this came very early in the 2010s. This track is from a group called LCD Sound System. You might have heard of them. They were pretty big in the late 2000s, early 2010s in the indie community. And this is the first track on their final album, This Is Happening. The track is called Dance Yourself Clean. Really, really great song. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Sometimes friends are mean. Present company, expected present company. Just laugh it off. It's better than it seems. Present company, excluded in every way. Present company makes me wanna stay. just like me. Present company excluded in the night. Present company included in the fight.
Once again, that was Dance Yourself Clean. I know it was a long one, but if you ask me, I would not cut a single second of it. It is a fantastic song. Crazy opener. Imagine listening to an album, that's the first song you heard. You'd be like, at least I would. I would be like blown back. I'd be like, what the heck is this? I'm so excited. And I would definitely recommend This Is Happening if that interests you. I mean, such a catchy and like, it's a banger of a song. I gotta say, like that beat change is crazy. I can just picture like being in a large crowd when that beat change comes on. Crazy. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I understand it is long. So if that kind of keeps you from really liking it, I understand. All right, so we're going to go back to our album of the week. It's 2:35 already, but we were only on song 2, so we're going to have to pick up the pace. This next track is called Superman That. It's an interesting track. We'll talk about the themes after I play it, I think. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Once again, it's called Superman That.
Ain't no saving me, ain't no saving me or you. Ain't no saving me, ain't no saving me or you. Ain't no saving me, ain't no saving me or you. Ain't no saving me, ain't no saving me or you. I can feel it in my bones, man, it's real down. I ain't shown that you grown, ain't blood that you shown. You can keep what you said, you tell it read, now you read what you sow. You can tweet your own, do not but that's just how that shit go. I can feel it in my bones, that it's true what they own. I ain't shown that you grown, every blood that you shown. You can hear what you said, you tell it read, now you read what you sow. You can tweet your own, do not but that's how that shit go. Yeah. Ain't no saving me, ain't no saving me or you. Ain't no saving me, ain't no saving me or you.
Once again, that last track was called Superman That. So I think that track does a better job of kind of revealing what this album is going to be like. The first track, very heavy on the instrumental and lyric-wise. I don't really know what's going on in the studio here. Seems like the lights are flashing. Is everything all right? Okay. So anyway. Yeah, so to get back on track with the track Superman That. Haha, track. I'm so funny. Anyway, let's talk about Superman That. It's a very interesting track. The opener kind of sets the scene instrumentally as far as this like it to me I see this album like the visual imagery I get from this album is a very dead night desert, and I think that is definitely implied by the cover. That's also kind of what it looks like. It's like this very cold electronic feel. That's what this album is. And if the instrumental wasn't clear. I think Richie with the T's lyrics here, they're simple, but they're really depressing and very like brutal to hear. I hope the context I gave you guys at the beginning somewhat gives you the vibe of what was going into this album. I do think it's important to kind of think about the creators and what all of this implies about their mental state following like one of their best friends dying. It's extremely disheartening. I mean, he says in the chorus, like, ain't no saving me or you. Simple lyrics, but incredibly powerful. That's one of the things about music that I really like. Sometimes it's not really about what you say, but the way you say it, the emotion you capture can make a simple line some of the most powerful music you've ever heard. And I think this album really does that. Really powerful track, if you ask me. I really enjoy this track. Hope you guys do too. Yeah, so we're gonna continue with our with my song playlist. This next track is much happier than the track you just heard. So if you didn't like that, hopefully this will cheer you up a bit. This track is called "Don't Need You" from Genesis Owosu. He released an album this year, and this is probably the most the song with the most pop appeal from that album, I would say. It's a really great album. I definitely want to revisit it because I haven't in a while since it came out. But yeah, this track has been stuck in my head all year. It's really great. Once again, it's called "Don't Need You." Hope you guys enjoy. Okay, for some reason, I think things were kind of messed up here. I might have to... Yeah, okay, so let's try this. Once again, Genesis Owosu with "Don't Need You."
Once I left your crazy ass, I took a therapy session. I won't be richest with the wealth, I'll be the richest in blessings. I said, you made a bet today, said I can't leave my bed today. You tapped me on my chest today, wanna rear your head on a bet today. Black dog, you be barking. I always saw your ass as a hindrance, and you saw me as a target, but wait, could this be true? I don't need you. I don't need you. Oh, wait, this is true. I don't like you. I don't like you. Ah.
Can't you see I'm rich? Same tricks, how'd you do me like that? Running over my back. Same tricks, ain't shit. How'd you do me like that? Running over my back. You ain't shit.
Wait, could this be true? I don't need you. I don't need you. Oh, wait, could this be true? I don't like you. I don't like you. I said your ass is stinky and you built like a mole. And I'll boot your ass to London if you can't take a stroll. I feel better. I'll be awesome. When you stop jogging on my dome. God damn. I said, wait, could this be true? I don't need you. I don't need you. God damn. Oh, wait, this is true. I don't like you. I don't like you. Ah.
Just wait in the hallway, babe. I don't like the smell of broom. Can't you see I'm rich? Same trick, how'd you do me like that? Running over my back. Same tricks, ain't shit. How'd you do me like that? Running over my back.
Once again, the last track was Don't Need You from Genesis Owosu. A banger of a track, if you ask me. Perfect for a sunny day such as today. Now, ignore the weather because we're going to go back to our extremely depressing album of the week. Just don't look outside when you're listening to this. Just pretend it looks nasty outside like it was supposed to. Anyway, let's move to the third track. It's called SS San Francisco. Yeah, and let's get going with that. Hope you guys enjoy.
What if I don't wanna stay in here? If I don't wanna pray in here? What if I ain't doing it? What if no? If I ain't really feel like that? If I won't wear some shit like that? No. We ain't supposed to be there. We ain't supposed to be there. It ain't supposed to get messy. Not anymore. No. We ain't supposed to be there. We ain't supposed to live in it. It ain't supposed to get messy.
Made for yourself, so sad. Can't protect yourself. Don't be
Stone hard to move 'em, wrong hard to prove 'em. On the crater, on the moon, watching home movies. Where they change the time up, where they 440 to it. I can't eat no ground stuff, I like the toaster strudel. They ain't got no gravity, I'm floating in some cruising. Reason for insanity, I ain't got one to use it. Know my body mad at me because it's going through it. Scared to have some kids because the world be going through it.
I ain't going through that. You can't just force me through it, shit. Nah, I ain't gonna do it. Nah, I ain't gonna do it. Got Ken buried in the dirt. And we just gonna uproot and do this. They say it coming all shape and sizes. They can make it just for you, kid. They try to show me the floor plan, say it matter how big your bed is. Say you choose a 20, you can put a little studio where that shit is. Got 20 bands and incentives, and that just go depending on what your rent is. Shit. I don't think they get it. Hold up, I ain't finished. Auntie said she could go for 4 years and come back just breaded. Said they paying folks to keep it clean, everyone fed shit. Or you gon' wait on some Bruce Wayne ass nigga on some Alfred shit. Nah, more like Jeffrey Butler. Haven't you seen Fresh Prince, kid? I don't think she get it. She just too hard-headed shit. There ain't no difference. You just working for this. Plus you gon' get vetted and probably check your credit. So probably just get it, but it's true.
I can't take it anymore. Not anymore.
Once again, the last track was called SS San Francisco. Look, guys, I did say this is a very strange and weird album. So at the very least, this wasn't unexpected what this album is going to be like. But personally, I'm really enjoying it. It's really thought-provoking as far as from lyrical perspective and how those lyrics interact with the music. So this track actually has a sample from the post-punk group The Fall, which I think is really awesome. I love The Fall. Definitely one of the most interesting bands of the post-punk genre. And I think they use that guitar sample really interesting here. It's like I was saying earlier, this definitely has a desert feel to me, this album. And I mean, they're from Arizona, so I think that is intentional. They're kind of going back to their roots as far as their inspiration. After such a tragic loss, you can really feel that they're lost. They don't know where to go without their third member. And it's really, really hard to listen to in a lot of ways. So I didn't mention, but the feature there, the guy with the really weird high voice, is Z Loopers. He is a pretty well-known underground hip-hop artist. Very strange guy and very strange vocals. I definitely recommend checking him out if you're into that kind of music. But to just look at the lyrics from Richie with the T on his verse that came after Z Loopers, it's again, we're looking back on this almost schizophrenic character, or I don't even know if you necessarily would call it a character, but but Richie with the T is definitely going through a personal crisis in these lyrics. He's unsure of himself. He's kind of going back and forth with these thoughts in his head, and it's very clear that he's grieving in these songs. This album actually was not completely done after what's his name died, after the third member died. So you will see him pop up later. Groggs, that's his name. Sorry, I forgot. On the next track, actually, he'll be popping up. But it is hard to listen to this without that in the mind, because that's what this album is kind of shaped by, that tragedy and how that affects the remaining members of the band. I'm finding it a very interesting listen. I hope you guys are too. But so we're going to go to another track from my playlist. This is another really great 2021 album. I Might Be Introvert by Little Sims. Sorry about that. If you're a fan of hip-hop, you definitely got to listen to this album, one of the best of the year. We're going to listen to the first track from that album, which is called Introvert. And it's a really great song. Hope you guys enjoy. Once again, it's called Introvert.
Of a young Messiah. I see sinners in a church, I see sinners in a church. Sometimes I might be introvert, there's a war inside. I hear battle cries, mothers burying sons, young boys playing with guns. The devil's a liar, fulfill your wildest desires. Now I don't wanna be the one to doctor this, but if you can't feel pain, then you can't feel the opposite. The fight between the yin and yang's a fight you'll never win. I study humans, that makes me an anthropologist. I'm not into politics, but I know it's dark times. Parts of the world still living in apartheid. But if I don't take this winner's flight, that's career suicide. Though I should have been a friend when your grandma died. I see the illness, see my aunt laying in her bed. I see her soul rising as her body gets closer to death. And I'm not trying to be healed. I sabotage what you're trying to build, cause the feelings I keep aside, but it's time to reveal. I hate the thought of just being a burden. I hate that these conversations are surfaced. Sim's an artist or Sim be the person. To you I'm smiling but really I'm hurting. I dedicate my life and gave my heart over 20-something years left. Wondering how I even feel, but was it even worth it? I bottle up and let's spill it in verses. One day I'm wordless, next day I'm a wordsmith. Close to success, but to happiness I'm the furthest. At night I wonder if my tears will dry on their own. Hoping I will fulfill Amy's purpose. Angel said don't let ego be a disturbance. In the demon said motherfucker you earn this. Like they strip you of everything you're deserving. Realize there is a prison and ask me a condition as fuck. Man, it's like they can't sleep till our spirit is crushed. How much fighting must we do? We've been fearless enough. All we've seen is broken homes here in poverty. Corrupt government officials, lies and atrocities. How they talking almost threatening the economy. Knocking down communities to re-up on properties. I'm directly affected, it does more than just bother me. Look beyond the surface, don't just see what you wanna see. My speech ain't involuntary, projecting attention straight from my lungs. I'm a black woman and I'm a proud one. We walking blind, faith not knowing the outcome. But as long as we're unified, then we've already won.
Find a way, the world's not over. I will make it, don't you cry. God, we trust, 'cause we're not alone.
Sometimes I can be in trouble. Sometimes I can be in trouble. Sometimes I can be in trouble. Sometimes I can be in trouble.
And so it begins. The bait is an amalgamation of everything. Rules are not to be played by rebels. The story of never ending. Your introversion led you here. Intuition protected you along the way. Feelings allowed you to be well balanced. And perspective gave you foresight. The top of the mountain is nothing without the climb. Only the strong will survive. Only the strong will survive. Alone, but not lonely. Your truth unveiled with time. As you embark on a journey of what it takes to be a woman.
Once again, the last track was called Introvert from Little Sims. Did I say that right last time? I don't know. But really great track. It's the opener from her album from this year. If you're a fan of hip hop, you have to listen to it. It exists in a much more traditional part of hip hop than something like this. But still, even though it's very like 2000 inspired, it sounds fresh. It sounds new. She has a lot of great themes she's talking about. I think that track was a really good like teaser for what the album is like. I would definitely recommend it. One of the best of the year, definitely. I would consider doing it for the show. It's just a little bit too long, honestly. I try to look for like 30 to 45 minute albums for this show, because anything longer won't really fit. But yeah, great album. All right, so we're going to go back to our album of the week. This next track is called Footwork in a Forest Fire. And as I mentioned earlier, this first verse is from Groggs, the member of the group that passed away last year. Yeah, so if you haven't heard him before, this is a reference for what he contributed to the group, I would say. But yeah, let's listen to the track. Once again, it's called Footwork in a Forest Fire.
we down to ride it. Sorry, mama, trying to rest, no longer be polite. They try to take my life, and they take my rights. Yeah, it's the sign of the times, time and sign. Look to the sky, look down below. Watch where you go, you know what you know, you know what you know.
Yeah, stop, drop, and roll. As pause, high roll. They say they 10 toes, but you just wallow with your toes. They say you built for the spose. How hard them stones? Keep your chin high, it's gonna be wildin' by your nose. 3-5-4, they say they anybody's foes. Let's see your footwork, let's see how your feet work, let's see how you roll. It's that good work, let's see how you good work. We gon' jump down slow, let's see that knee jerk. Let's see how your team work, you just without toes. Tell you how I roll, I say like everything must go. When I grab your candy on full, when I grab your fist in the fistball, when I grab your first thing that you heard, what's it worth and how you know. All the glitter ain't goes on how it make you feel in your bones. Everything that you go, everything that bring hard to your home. This temple ain't so holy, this temperature's so showing. Grab everything that you own, but not everything that you own. You got 2 arms you can hold, with the 2 arms in a row. They gon' be arms in your nose, that's big arms and bones. Got big massive bones. Everything that you don't, they been plotting on this pole. They be not doing the truth. This one thing I know is still be things that ain't control.
Once again, that last track was called Footwork in a Forest Fire. And I mean, all I can say about that track is that it is apocalyptic. I mean, it's the title is apt. I think it has this feel of everything coming down around the group. And it's almost like it's haunting to kind of hear Groggs kind of talking about this, that even before his death, they were talking about like the way society has kind of collapsed. I mean, obviously this song has a lot of references to like the murder of George Floyd and the protests, the Black Lives Matter protests that came after that. I was thinking that while looking at the lyrics, it's very clearly talking about how unfair it all feels. And you could also say it's a reference to kind of the pandemic and everything that's kind of come from that. Just this feeling of apocalypse, that everything could break at any moment. And I think they capture that amazingly on this track. Something I wanted to bring attention to is Richie with the T's flow. Now, if you have not heard any Injury Reserve before this point, it might just seem like he's a very weird MC, but I will say, on their material before this album, he's much more traditional. He's got a very infectious flow and infectious voice. He really captures your attention from like a pop perspective more, something that you'd want to keep come back and listen and just kind of, because it hits hard. What he does here is very different, but also very interesting. His flow on this track in particular is very strange. You could say creepy, I would say. Somewhat goofy as well, I find. But I think there's something even more like scary about that, like kind of listening to this kind of those loud like bongo drums in the background and Richie with the T kind of like singing over this with like this really weird like inflection in his voice. I think this track is very interesting, and shows that even outside of Groggs' death, they were looking in a very dark and depressing place for this next album. Yeah, really interesting track if you ask me. All right, so we're gonna go to the next track. This track is the opposite. You know, I tried to plan a playlist that kind of contrasted how sad and depressing this album with some more like upbeat and happy tracks. This next one is from an artist I'm a huge fan of and would love to do his album one day. The artist is Gene Dawson. He released an album. What's it called? This every show there's a couple times I just like sit here in silence looking up an artist because I can't remember. Gene Dawson. Pixel Bath. I didn't even need to look. Pixel Bath. I know. Anyway, the track is called Devilish. Hope you guys enjoy.
Young man with the bad thought doesn't go far, it just sits right here. My old man was the jackpot with the black mask, and I'm just like him. I don't like all the bright lights when I ride by. I creep, got a blank face in my right hand, like my dad's hand. When I lose my shit, say free. The monster underneath the bed, nigga, that's me. The shadow on the other side of the room don't blink. Big smile, nigga, don't play me. I'm the boogie oogie man with the diamonds in my eye. Big man with the big heart doesn't go far. He just flips that coin. Sit there with your suit and tie, letting life be a bitch. I bet you get inside. Hit it right and flip a switch. I bet you crack a smile. You a big man in a sports car. You a big man. You got no heart. You a big man. You a monster. I can see you dead inside. You open up your Frankenstein. Your screws are loose. Your mouth is wired. Skin is melting off. Monster in that room. Better watch that suit. Better watch your step. Bumping in the night. Monster in that room. I know it's who. I know I love you with the rugged eye. Monster in that room. Better watch that suit. Better watch your step. Bumping in the night. Monster in that room. I know it's who. I know I love you with the rugged eye. You were sick, you got shot deep. You a pussy boy, nigga, not me. Shit empty out your pockets, I mean everything. You a businessman, I'm a stick-up kid. I can see you dead inside. You open up your Frankenstein. Your screws are loose. Your mouth is wide. Skin is melting off. Monster in that room. Better watch that suit. Better watch your step. Bumping in the night. Monster in that room. I know it's who. I know I love you with the rugged eye. Monster in that room. Better watch that suit. Better watch your step. Bumping in the night. Monster in that room. I know it's who. I know I love you with the rugged eye. I can see you dead inside. I can see you dead inside. I can see you dead inside. I can see you dead inside.
Wait. Okay, so I don't know what that last 30 seconds was. I don't think that's part of the song, so I don't know where that came from. But let's just move on. Once again, that was Devilish from Gene Dawson. He has a very unique style. He's like a mix between like modern hip hop and like emo music. Unlike anything I've ever heard, and he does go into like different directions on his record than this too. very catchy songs on that album. Anyway, let's get back to our album of the week. It's already 3:10, so we got to keep moving. Now, this next track I accidentally did not put on the CD. I don't even know what to say why it happened. I was trying to edit out the curses, and for some reason, it just deleted the song altogether. And I didn't have the time to fix it. So we're actually going to skip the track Ground Zero, which is track 5. And we'll go straight to track 6. This track is called Smoke Don't Clear. Hope you guys enjoy.
Train is still on schedule. Train is still on schedule. The train is still on schedule.
As the dust settles, shake it off of me. Shake it off of me.
Train is still on schedule.
Yeah, your pattern's still in place. Algorithm still in action. Just work 'cause you can just jump right back. I seen that shit working like nothing ever happened. I go to power on, I see your shit still happening. Yeah. I felt lost, but a hole like this I never could imagine. Your pattern's still in place, algorithm still in action. As I scroll through, I see a piece of you is still reacting. As I drove through, I still seen pieces on the street of glass, still immortalized from the things that happened. Turned to fragments in a figment I can only imagine. Turned to ashes in the blink of an eye, I could hold in a basket. But your patterns are still intact and algorithms still reacting. Algorithms still reacting. Hold on. Yeah. And we will live on, and we won't give up. He does just like you, he doesn't like you. We'll keep working. I won't log out, I won't log out, and log out. He does just like you, he does just like you. He like just like you, he like just like you. Look across the table, I see a lot more than what appears to be a shadow. He walks across the room, I see a lot more than seems to be patterns. I scan the room, I see bits and pieces of you scattered. It's those same patterns that gon' get us through the next chapter. Your blood run through this home and your habits do much after. Grab the remote, pops up something you would've watched. I'm like, classic. This is some shit I would've seen you watch and I just laughed at. Your patterns are still in place and your algorithm is still in action. Yeah. Just working so you can just jump right back in. But you ain't jumping back. Yeah, just run it back.
All right, guys. So a little slip up on that last track. I guess the way I put it in, the way I formatted the CD must have not worked for some reason, because that track was actually top picks for you, instead of Smoke Don't Clear. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what happened there, but I really like that track too. It's very hazy, and like I've been saying so far, definitely has this feel of the desert night, like a very cold, dark desert night. That's the image that comes in my mind while I'm listening to this album. So I think I'm gonna try to play the actual Smoke Don't Clear right now to follow that up. Yeah, sorry again for messing up the track list. This definitely is an album that you really should pay attention to the track list. So if you're liking what you're hearing, I would definitely recommend listening to this on your own. So yeah, we're gonna play this track that I was supposed to play, Smoke Don't Clear. I'm gonna play that now. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy.
Can you hear me now? Is this?
Oh man! Niggas left the door open. You gon' like that shit? All in. Stop, man, with it. Smoke don't clear. Oh man, smoke don't clear. Oh, the smoke don't clear. Oh man, smoke don't clear. They gon' plan, they gon' put they don't know. They got plan shit, but I don't know. Stop playing with the smoke don't clear. Stop playing with the smoke don't clear. They gon' plan, they gon' put they don't know. They got plan shit, but I don't know. Stop playing with the smoke don't clear. Stop playing with the smoke don't clear.
I got my hands tied with plenty more ahead. What was your pants tied? We got some shit right here. Strap up your own boots, all up here for me. Do what you want, put some pepper in your step. I tried to move a mountain with just many men. I tried to move a mountain, but that ain't really it. Do what you want, do the smoke, never clear. Strap up your own boots, all up here for me. 2, 4, we tally him up here. 4 by 4, go ahead, build you a crib. I got my own crew, been through shit right here. Strap up your own boots, it's all up here for me. Ooh, no, we're barely just ahead. What I do, no shit, it barely just began. I got my own moves, it's all up in the bed. Do what you want, do the smoke, never clear.
Once again, that last track was Smoke Don't Clear. The 6th track from our album of the week, Injury Reserves, By the Time I Get to Phoenix. A very interesting track. That track kind of was a little bit heavier on the aggression as far as from Richie with the T's vocals. He was kind of singing in a low register, but it was still muffled like he's been on the whole album. And yeah, this is another track, reminds me of Footwork in a Forest Fire, which we talked about earlier, as far as it's apocalyptic in a way and extremely depressing from the musical content and from lyrical content. Just a lot of metaphors about there being nothing no optimism. There's nothing to look forward to. That's kind of what it seems like. The smoke will not clear, if that makes sense. And again, it's also kind of embracing that schizophrenic vibe that I was talking about earlier, where Richard with a T is just so like lost in his own thoughts, kind of rambling throughout this track. This album in a lot of ways feels very haunted, if you ask me. The instrumentals are kind of very hollow. They have like these interesting samples, but it all feels very subdued. I will say, I think this album, there's something different to get out of it if you are already a fan of the group. If you already know what they've sounded like, hearing how they've changed due to this tragedy is heartbreaking in a way. But I still think there's something very valuable to get out of experiencing this album, even if it's not something you're usually into. I do think there's a lot of interesting stuff here. All right, so we're going to Porcelain Slightly by Little Ugly Mane. Yeah, really like that track. I honestly have not listened to the album yet, but I will get to it soon. I'm excited to see how this new change in direction has affected his music, because he really is. He's such an innovator, an enigma. He in hip hop, as far as his influences and what kind of direction. No one knows. No one knows where this guy's gonna go. I'm glad he's back though. Let's go back to our album of the week. By the time I get to Phoenix, this next track is called Postpartum. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, that's my bad. That is not postpartum. I think this next one is. No, okay, I think this one. Once again, postpartum.
Talking, jogging, we was posted on the wall while our seat was wildin'. Word. Y'all in peace, check it, yeah. I was hurting from birthing it. Shit, got into my mental, yeah. All these little lowercase t's on instrumentals, oh please, just gonna be gentle, yeah. Drawings from my stencils, seeing all the itty bitty knees, all about to tremble, but see, why am I salty? Shit, I should be honored, yeah. But now they running laps around me. See, that's the problem, you see. I'm just doing my thing, but then they profit like bees. The two are piling, now see, you see my problem. And you look around, and look just like you gonna need way more than some do all of this. Way more than a two all the big so follow suit in them six, they gon' follow you. That's the way I'm ashamed in your pants, and that's gon' follow you. Brother for them sons, so we follow you a son. Part of it is strong, but it's hardly just because. I'd rather burn at the stake than boil in a pot. But you gotta pull them from the roots when you pull the plug. I really low tar. It's been a blessing just to see you grow. But soon as you seen red, I should've seen red shit. You already know. Tried every angle, turn over every turn, every stone shit. One more to please, it just turned to my season. All fall down to your feet. I have my arms in the Like a Frank 09 on the road.
Once again, that last track was called Postpartum. Yeah, a lot to say about that one, honestly. I mean, based on the title, you could say it's talking about what happens when you're getting old, honestly. And it's kind of interesting to see that theme kind of come up on the last third of this album, after everything that this album's been the band's been going through, talking about losing one of their key members, talking about like the tragedies that have kind of happened in the last couple years and how that's affected them, and kind of talking about this apocalyptic look on the world that has kind of consumed the band members at this point, and led them down a really depressing route, with a lot of doubt and a lot of insecurity that they're kind of dealing with. And I think Richie with the T's verses on this track, as well as his vocals, are really great and really capture that feeling. Some of the best vocals on this album, I would say. You actually have points throughout this song where Richie with the T's vocals are actually almost clear, and there's no reverb and fuzz surrounding it, which I think is interesting. Shows his most clear-headed moments on this album, where he's far from clear-headed. And yeah, it just kind of goes to show that capturing this kind of like that when depression kind of can take hold of you, it can bring you down just the most, like, there's nothing to really get out of the direction that Richie's taking these lyrics, and I think they're aware of that. And you'll see on the track that comes next, Knees, kind of like taking that to the next level, taking that fear about growing old, kind of like looking at everything that's happened to them and approaching the feeling of apocalypse and embracing that. I think the next track will also kind of follow in that theme. Yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying it. It's been kind of a mess because I really did not get the time to format my CD correctly. I was kind of in a rush today, but you know, it is what it is. We're going to go back to my song playlist. This next track is called Valentine by the artist Snail Mail. This is a pretty great little pop punk track. Hope you guys enjoy.
Let's go be alone, where no one can see us, honey. Careful in that room. Those parasitic cameras, don't they stop to stare at you? Can't love for us both. You've gotta live and I gotta go. As long as it's us two, fuck being remembered. I think I was made for why'd you wanna erase me? Darling Valentine, you'll always know where to find me when you change your mind. So why'd you wanna erase me? Darling Valentine. Now I can't hate you and ruin me for you. Blame me if you need to, but I adore you. I adore you. I adore you. I adore you.
Once again, that last track was Valentine from Snail Mail. Yeah, I remember her breakout album a couple of years back, which I was kind of like okay on. There were some good tracks. But she seems to have grown a lot as an artist on this song. I actually have not listened to her newest album, but we'll probably get to it in December because I did really like this track. I think it's a really fiery pop punk track. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it too. We're going to go back to our album of the week. We've actually got 2 tracks left. Now, this next one I would say is probably like the emotional climax of this album. It kind of like is the culmination of all of the feelings that this album has kind of been dealing with, all the depressing, apocalyptic sounds that we've been talking about, kind of come to a head on this track, where where Richie with the T is fully embracing, kind of like how everything has left him, where everything has left him and the group, as well as kind of what I was talking about earlier, talking about those kind of like thoughts about growing old and how that can affect you. Yeah, this is a really depressing but really beautiful track, I will say. Once again, this track is called Knees. Hope you guys enjoy.
Knees hurting when I grow, and that's a tough pill to swallow. Because I'm not getting taller. Please, any way I can grow, please. My knees hurt when I grow, and that's a tough pill to swallow. Because I'm not getting taller. Please, is there any way I could grow? Please. My knees hurt when I grow, and that's a tough pill to swallow. Cause I'm not getting taller. Please, is there any way I could grow? Please. Take that, take that, take that, take that. Take my baby, baby, just take that. She said we don't accept the sleepy kind. I think these niggas might be lying. Shit, we ain't up to speed on that. No, we ain't got the green like that. Oh, my signature don't match on that. I did that when snapbacks came back.
Lost in the tip. It was things I ain't rolling with. Things I ain't knowing yet. Things I ain't growing in.
Oh, don't worry, you gon' grow into those, baby.
We don't want mine, but they give me if I ain't knowing.
Just try them out. Just put them on.
I ain't on the tip. I don't think I'm growing anymore. I don't think I'm growing no more. I don't think it's snowing no more. Don't feel it in my bones no more. I ain't too cool for no more. I ain't at the speed like that. I I've been out the loop for sure. Hold up, shit, I'll be right back. Inspectors in the trash for sure. Yeah.
Shit, I can't even grow no more. Well, at least not vertically. But all these bottles that a nigga been killing got my stomach a little bit lower than it's supposed to be. Supposed to be, yeah. I see my aunt the other day, she started roasting me. Like, baby, how come every time I see you, you get me found in the face? That's the real shit, I want the writer. Then I thought about it, I should probably take these blues off my writing. Okay, this last one is my last one. Shit, probably said that about the last one. Probably gonna say it about the next two. Fuck it, nigga, at least my dreads grew. Watch me swing on them. Yeah, watch me. My knees hurt cause I'm grown.
And that's a tough pill to swallow. Cause I'm not getting tired of. Oh, this is you. No. Go ahead, that's you. Go ahead.
Keep on killing these bottles. Knees hurt cause I'm grown. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Stop killing these bottles. My knees hurt cause I'm grown. And that's a tough pill to swallow. I need to put down the bottle. Knees hurt cause I'm grown. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
Once again, the last track was called Knees. Yeah, honestly, it's absolutely heartbreaking song. Probably my favorite on the album, and it's got to be one of my favorites of the year. And it's really weird to hear this song because this song out of all the songs is the most clearly finished before Groggs died. Like his verses clearly was planned to be on this track. It was all planned to be this way before anything happened to him. And it's just crazy to hear kind of because it feels like he knew what was going on. I don't think it's been publicly released how he died. But yeah, I mean, he opens up his verse saying, I can't even grow no more. And I mean, yeah. It's this track in particular is really difficult to listen to, I gotta say. And then the main hook it's very it's very sweet, but it, of course, just like the rest of this album, it's surrounded by the noise and the fuzz, and also the kind of the schizophrenic feeling that kind of this whole album is going through. And like the sentiment, like it's just like a genius like realization. It's like my knees hurt, but I'm not growing anymore. You're getting old. That's what they're talking about, and that's exactly what this album is about. Not just growing old, but dying. Watching your friend that you've been working with on the come up for a decade now die. That's not the plan, you know? That wasn't the plan. It's tragic. Yeah, man. It's tragic. But really powerful stuff. I hope you guys have kind of tried to piece together a little bit why I think this album is one of the best of the year and one of the most interesting musical experiences I've had in a while. At the very least, if you liked some of it, I hope you go back and listen to it on your own, because I really do think there's something, well, whatever the opposite of life affirming is, this album kind of captures it, but it's still really beautiful. Sometimes depressing album is captures human emotion unlike anything else. Yeah, so let's continue. We got one more track, and then I'm going to play the last track from the album. This next track is called The Server is Immersed from Spirit of the Beehive. They released an album this year that I listened to. It was a really great album. If you're looking for an indie rock album with some kind of like punk noise flares in it, I definitely recommend it. But yeah, here's that track. Hope you guys enjoy. Once again, that last track was from Spirit of the Beehive. A really great song from a pretty good album. We listened to a lot of 2021 music today, because honestly, that's just what I've been listening to this week. So something I usually do is in December, I listen to solely 2020, or solely the year that it is music. It's kind of like my catch-up month for all the music I missed or stuff that I listened to earlier that I haven't re-listened to in a while. Yeah, just kind of helps to kind of like format the year in my head. But I started a little early this year. I've been listening to pretty much all 2021 music, all of November too. And honestly, there's still so much great stuff. This has been a great year for music, I gotta say. I have like a playlist on Spotify for every year that I've been doing this since like 2016 or 2017. And the 2021 playlist is one of the biggest ones, which is crazy. Just shows that there's been a lot of great music. And still a lot more to hear. So we're going to get to the last track of the show today, which is the last track from our album of the week. By the time we get to Phoenix by Injury Reserve. Yeah, so this last track is called By Storm. Hope you guys enjoy.
damn, nigga, it really, it rains and pours, but damn, nigga, it really. By storm, I know I'm on, yeah, won't show everything. The show must go on, the show must go, man. Show must go on, shit, I don't know. It rains and pours, but damn, nigga, it's really pouring. It rains and pours, but damn, nigga, it's really pouring. Shit, we got caught by storm, and we ain't even know it. To you, this shit knee high, to him, it's to his shoulders. I see what gravity did to my pop shell, it broke me. I told my cuz that ain't him, she said, shit, I know that. I see my anchors break down, I don't know how to hold that. There's only so much two arms can truly hold it. Everybody got that one that keep the rest in orbit, but who gon' hold it down when that rock can't take no moment? It rains and pours, but damn, man, it's really pouring. They said you're cold, but damn, man, shit, I don't know, man. We laugh, we joke, cause man, that's just how they want it. It rains and pours, but damn, nigga, it's really pouring. Man.
Once again, that last track was called By Storm. The final track from our album of the week and the final track of the show from the album By the Time I Get to Phoenix by Injury Reserve. And I got to say that last track is just as heartbreaking. It's kind of like the most level-headed take Richie with the T gets at with his grief towards the loss of one of his best friends and his partner in his group. And, you know, I think it's a really beautiful metaphor going on here, talking about it's really raining, things suck. You know, you got to mourn, but damn, is it really like pouring? Just the idea, like, it keeps coming down and I'm trying to get through it, but it's really hard. Yeah. Talking about losing his friend. And in a way, I feel like Groggs' influence on this album is very, like, ghostly. He feels like he's already gone, even though parts of this album were recorded before he passed. And I will say it's really heartbreaking to watch the group kind of go through this loss. But alongside that, I think it was just beautifully done. The way the production and Richie with the T's vocals interact with each other to create this tragic story of grief, I think are excellent. It's so interesting. And honestly, even as if someone who's listened to their music before, I don't think they've done anything like this. Something that is just so clearly emotional. It's on another level than just a hip hop album, I guess. I don't mean to mean hip hop albums by saying that, but there is if you needed an album that was a clear example of, you know, like there's more to hip hop than just club music or something like that. There's more to it. It has the potential for such amazing emotional projection. I think this is an album that really shows that. And, I got to say, even after that listen, it's not an album I have fully processed or fully understand. A lot of it is still very obscure, and if it hasn't really connected with me. It's very noisy, and it's very weird. So, I don't fault you at all if you didn't like it or you just didn't even get it at all. I totally understand. But I definitely think this is one of the most powerful albums from 2021, and one that I would recommend anyone listen to if they're a fan of music. And a fan of storytelling through music. But yeah, that's going to be the show for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed the album of the week as well as the playlist I constructed for you guys. I hope there was a lot of great songs, or just one great song. That's good enough for me, I would say. But yeah, so this has been the Flood Watch. My name is Ryan Flood. We've been on WLOI Loyola Radio, streaming online at WLOI.org and Campus TV channel 111.1. I hope you all enjoyed the show. Like I said, enjoy this beautiful day and the beautiful weekend ahead of us. And hopefully I'll see you guys next Friday, same time, 2 to 4. And yeah, I'll see you all next week. Have a nice weekend.